What is going on, everybody? It is your man, Divine Drew, and I really want to bring up a subject that I truly think is kept in the dark a lot, and I am guilty of doing so. And so I really want to spread some light and shine the light onto the subject, and that's simply just struggles. And I plan to give you guys some of my personal struggles, things that I've came in encounter with throughout my life of living and through my experiences of plant medicines and just life in general. So, my intention with this message is that it gives you some clarity, it gives you the love and the light that you need in order to proceed through whatever you may be going through. Because at the end of the day, my biggest thing is I never would wish whatever I've gone through and put myself through, I would never wish that upon anybody. And the fact is that what I've gone through and what I experienced over my years of living, I definitely know that I'm not the only one. And so my intention is to set out that forth of love and light so that hopefully that whoever's watching can get that peace and that clarity to enter into their life, because honestly, we are a fucking phenomenal race. We are a phenomenal race as the human race. And it's not just that, on an individual level, we deserve to live within the greatness. We deserve to live as our greatest versions of ourselves. But if nobody ever talks about it, if nobody ever gets into the needy and greedy part, the meaty and greedy part, then we can never really get people to all excel up, right? Because it's all about rising up together, not individually. It is very much individually when you do your own journey of self-love, self-healing. But as you progress through life, it's about learning how to turn struggles into accomplishments. And even if you don't know how to turn it into accomplishments, the mental construct around that struggle is no longer that struggle. And that's the whole goal, is to give you that piece of clarity in the mind, but also to allow yourself to alleviate all that pain and pressure that you've been holding inside of you, so that we can allow ourselves to step into the most authentic self. So one of the hardest struggles I ever faced in my life is judgment. Judgment upon self, judgment upon from others. I would say the biggest one for me personally was the way I used to judge myself. I'm an overthinker, and being an overthinker is a beautiful thing, but also a very tiring thing to do as well. And throughout my whole life, I was just practically from the ages of like 8 and on, I stepped into more of a leadership role in the sense of like who I was as a character. And yeah, that's a really young age. How does anybody really know anything? And the truth is, a lot of experiences had been bestowed upon me at a young age. One of my biggest stories is in grade 4, I was about 10 years old. My brother's best friend had told me that he was going to commit suicide. He had told me, he was going to commit the suicide because he was tired of life and so on and so forth. And so this is how essentially leadership roles started to take place. I found myself in situations where I felt like I had to be more responsible at a very young age, and a lot of people go through that. A lot of people, I know I'm not the only one, but also being this leader at a young age came with a lot of struggles of understanding, hard discipline on myself based off of the fact that that was the way I was raised growing up. And it just it really it's it's a hard wound that has now been healed, and that's why I don't go into the details of explaining everything. It's simply just based off the fact that I've healed through it and I've gone through it, and now I'm good enough to talk about what it is, but more on the sense of like, let's get to the real importance, the golden nuggets, to the parts that is really going to excel us in our learning in everyday life. And so, the judgment of self always came from always wanting to be that leader, always stepping up as that leader, and always putting the same old pressure of performing well and doing well. And a lot of it was not even for me for a long time. And this is where self-love comes into later in my life. But for the most part, I was always just trying to excel at everything I did: sports, school, friendships, relationships, simply just so that everybody else was pleased. And the one person that I kept forgetting was myself, because I thought my goal in my life, my purpose, was to shine light for everybody else and not have myself stand in that own light. And that's a very selfish thing, and it's a very common thing amongst people that are watching this video and others that understand this truth to their life of experiences. And so I honestly gotta say thank you for tuning in. First off, thank you for tuning in, just simply based off of the fact that you're taking time out of your day and you're really investing time into yourself and investing time into what I'm saying as a hope and inspiration to bring out the best of you. And that's simply my goal here. So when we talk about struggles, we all have them. And that's the truth. We all have our struggles, and our struggles are like stressors. But stress is one of those things that stress can be used in the right way to get fire under your feet, or it can be used in the wrong way, and that causes a weight on your mind. And so my inspiration definitely came through my struggles of wanting to be better, wanting to bring more light to this world. And one thing that I honestly never realized until my first session in ayahuasca, which is a plant medicine, was that I was doing exactly everything that I needed to, and I just needed to recognize. I needed to recognize everything inside of me. And I didn't want to for a very long time because of my struggles, because of how I felt from these struggles as a man, as a person, as a spirit, and not understanding them from a higher perspective, not understanding them from a clearer perspective. And so, in all honesty, a lot of my struggles led to my depression. A lot of my struggles was due to confidence, was due to the inability to understand that people are typically projecting 90% of the time when people talk about you. I never had a good guidance, and I learned how to be that guidance for myself. And the reason why I learned that guidance for myself is because I realized that nobody was going to devote more time or love into figuring it out than myself, because I needed it, I wanted it, and at the same time, it all just made more sense. It all made more sense by starting to live my life and starting to do my life in much more efficient ways that really propelled me to do everything that I'm doing now. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm 27 years young. Yes, I still live at home, and I do all these things in order to make the sacrifices worth it. And so, being 27 years young, do I still want to be living at home? No, I want my own space. I want to be able to do my own things, and I have the capabilities to achieve that. And I've been achieving it, but now I'm realizing that in a time that we are all facing, it's better to be at home at the current state, just based off of the world events. And so, with that being said, I'm giving you guys this message now to let you know that your struggles are going to be your triumph and successes at some point of your life. The best thing that I did with my struggles was learn how to be patient, how to be gentle, and how to just assert yourself in beautiful ways that you just end up appreciating. Like the fact that there's days where I feel fully motivated and ready to go kick off my day, and then there's other days where I don't. But now, when I don't have the same type of energies in those days, I don't judge myself for it. I be patient, I allow it to happen, and I embrace the time in the moment it's like literally the power of nothing. And sometimes being in the space of the power of nothing is just a magnificent tool that we all carry. And my truth is, the struggles of life come from people's perceptions of reality. And you're only going to get a clearer perspective once you know what reality is to you. Because nobody can tell you, nobody can say, oh, this is what reality is, and blah, 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 blah. They can give you all their opinions and all their life and triumphs and so on and so forth. But in the end, it's all about how they perceived it and how are they giving their lessons, and if that resonates with you, or do you want to accept that as the truth? Because here's the real truth: you don't need to. You don't need to accept other people's perceptions of reality or other people's experiences of life, even if it's mine. You don't have to accept it and make it your own. My biggest thing that I've always said is take a grain of salt from everybody. Take a grain of salt from every single interaction you have, from every single person that you can learn from. Because in the end, like, your life's about like consistently learning, growing, evolution. If we're not evolving, and if we're not at peace with our current state of like who we are, then what are we really trying to accomplish, right? And that's the biggest thing. If you don't have any goals, values is the most important thing. What's valuable to you? What means a lot to you? What means a lot to your heart? And do those align with your goals? When you start planning out your goals, what type of game plan are you going in with? Are you half-assing it? Are you giving your full effort? Are you putting a little bit of effort? You start recognizing what goals we actually have and start striving towards those goals by making sure that the values you carry within your soul, within your heart, match up with your goals. And I learned that I used to spend a lot of time in the future mentally, and that would miss out the whole present, miss out my past, but also caused me to stress a lot. And it caused me to stress a lot simply based on the fact that I felt like I had to have all the answers, and that's simply not the case. So if you're hearing my message, if you're hearing my stories a little bit here, please understand this: you don't have to have it all figured out. It's not meant to. It's just not meant to be discovered when it's not meant to be discovered. Is the easiest way to explain it. Everything happens with divine timing. There's no such thing as quiddings in life. Everything happens for a reason. People come into our lives for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. But at the end of the day, it's not about figuring out if it's a season, a reason, or a lifetime. What it is just about embracing the gift of that person being present with you and you being present with yourself, and allowing that occurrence to take place. Meeting somebody for the first time, falling in love for the first time, falling in love with yourself for the first time. There's so many first times, and this is where we really just allow ourselves to embrace these moments, and we really need to open up in the sense of understanding the bigger picture as in your personal life. And it's so important and so crucial to understanding your own individual journey in this game of life, because people talk about spirituality and make it sound like it's separate from this 3D reality, but it's not, because the way you carry yourself each and every single day, emotionally, mentally, physically, is the way that your energetic body and your spiritual side of things is going to receive that energy as well. And so when we talk about that spiritual portion, that is the portion of you that we call the higher self, the version of you that's already been created, all right? Because who you are today watching this video is who you once wished for at some point of your life. And maybe you didn't wish it to the extreme of the dark or the light, but this is where you're coming and you're finding this video because this is that reminder that you asked for in your contract. In your soul contract when you came to earth, You ask for some type of reminder at this point of time of your life. And I'm letting you know that you are going to be doing great. Even if you're not doing great right now, at the end of the day, it's how you're doing on the inside that counts. How are you holding yourself presently? There's no right and wrong. But at the end of the day, are you happy? If you're not happy, what is it that's not making you happy? Figuring out what of life is not making you happy and understanding it for what it is. It's not judging. So an example, if I'm not happy based off of my financial situations because maybe I don't have, the financial literacy that I see so many people have out there. It's not my job to go into it and try to break it apart and I gotta figure this out today so that I can be financially literate by tomorrow. No. The thing is, I need to understand why is it that I don't have that financial literacy. Where is it? Why do I feel drained, or why do I feel blocked, or and bringing it to the surface. Here's an example. When I was young, when I was 19 years old, I made a mistake on my credit, and I didn't know what to do, and I really didn't know where to go. So I followed similar people in my life at that time, and basically I gave myself that opportunity to learn from them, realized that following that path brought me somewhere else, but those struggles have made me way more efficient today than it's ever been. But I had to go through all of that mentally, and I brought myself down. And so I learned a lot about really bringing things to the surface, to analyze, to understand, and to understand so that I can finally put the right things that made sense, but at the same time didn't make sense, and that's just because when you start pulling apart all of these struggles and bring them to the surface, you're not going to understand right away. You're not, and you're going to fight with yourself. You're going to fight with yourself because you're not going to want to see the truth. You're not going to want to accept the truth. But you really got to get down and deep with your own truth so that you can elevate yourself, so that you can heal, so that you can grow, so that you can proceed in life. And I'm going to cut this video off a little bit now because I've been monotone this whole time because this is a lot, but this is also a reintroduction to my YouTube. So if you've made it this long, I got so much more coming and so much more exciting, and this is just that introduction video to welcome to this life again. And so each and every single one of you that come across this, all the love from my heart may go to your and your life, because I truly appreciate, even if it's one person that watches this all the way to the end. My intention is that you can take some of the lessons that I've said in here and make it your own, and check back in with me. Follow me on TikTok, follow me on YouTube, everything. Just simply stay in touch, because the information that I'm putting out here is not the typical information, and it's not the typical way of how people do things, and that's just because I want to be unique. I want to be different, and I'm bringing back the portion where we have to sit and actually listen and not tease our brains, with transitions and this and that. This is the way I'm working through all of this. This is the way that I find my mind can focus on certain things. And so this is what I'm presenting to all of you, is giving you a reason to actually sit and focus on what I'm saying, because it is important. And it's not important to me anymore as it is important to share the information. And I always keep it raw and authentic, and I can't wait to express more about everything that I got going on in my life and everything that I've learned. And so with that being said, namaste everyone. Peace and love always. And if you don't know, now you know. I love you unconditional, because I can.